What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Beaver Creek Woodcraft. Jason Hunt put out this survival challenge to create an Altoids tin survival kit, and that's what you see here. Now, I don't really know anybody that still messes around with these, but I tried to put together the best kit I could. Save the duct tape. The problem I see with most of these kits is that, for one, the capacity of an Altoids tin is way too small. And secondly, and obviously, they're not air and water tight. So if you take a spill in the river, you're going to wind up with a wet Altoids tin, most likely. Now, as you can see, this tin holds itself closed without anything extra on it, which is one of the requirements of the challenge. And this kit is relatively small. There's not a lot to it. I see a lot of guys try and pack as much stuff as they can in these, and to me that defeats the purpose. One of the biggest things I see with these Altoids kits is that nobody ever tries to come up with a cover element that'll fit inside of here. And I did, and that's the majority of my kit. And we're going to open her up here. Now, obviously, you can see there's a piece of Mylar in here. This is one of those Mylar blankets that you get for a couple dollars at the camping section at Walmart and Kmart that everybody used. I really intentionally wanted to get the makings of a super shelter put into this kit. Unfortunately, I could not get more than the Mylar blanket, and it's a 5x7, and that's going to be about the best you're going to get. If you see down here, I have a poncho. This was intended to go in there as well, but obviously you can see with the bulk of that thing, I couldn't get it to compress down enough to fit in the kit and have room for anything else. So, if I had to have something that was windproof and waterproof, obviously I want a plastic sheet of some kind, but I would rather take the Mylar sheet with its reflective capability than just a clear plastic sheet. Again, I couldn't fit a Bic lighter into this kit, trying to come up with some sort of cover element, which is really important to me because I'm in northern Ohio, and right now it's January 1st. So, if you get caught out in the summertime without proper clothing, you're probably going to be okay to just hunker down like the bunnies and the rabbits do, and you'll survive the night enough to get your butt out of there and get home, or at least start worrying about signaling for rescue and just making the decision whether you should stay put or you should try and effect self-rescue. But in the wintertime around here, it's no joke. Right now it's about 35 degrees. Last night we had 50-mile-an-hour winds and 65-degree weather. Earlier in the day it was 35 degrees again with rain. And it's been raining for like the last 3 days. That's a beautiful recipe for hypothermia. So cover is important. Being able to have something that's windproof and waterproof to protect you from losing body heat. The Mylar blanket's the best I could get to fit into this little tin. And it's better than nothing. I'd rather have a Mylar blanket that might help me survive the night than a bunch of fish hooks that I'm probably never going to get the chance to use. I tried to get, since I couldn't fit a Bic in here with the Mylar blanket, I tried to get at least 2 ignition sources. I have a ferro rod in here, a very small ferro rod, and I have one of these little spark light kits and a couple of tinder quicks that go with that. It'd be a little easier to light one of those tinder quicks with one of these when your hands are wet and they're cold and you're low on finger dexterity. I'm going to say that this is probably going to be a little easier than trying to strike this little ferro rod. So we have some tinder, because in my mind, a small kit like this, I wanted to do one thing and one thing only: keep me alive through the night. If I can get myself build a makeshift shelter with that Mylar blanket and get a fire going to replace the body heat that I lost, you know, the Mylar blanket or any kind of insulation whatsoever is only going to hold in the heat that you have. If you're already starting to get hypothermic, you're kind of past that point. Now you need to have auxiliary heat added to that. And that's what the fire is going to give you, you know. Not only fire gives people a sense of comfort and security, but once you've lost that much body heat, you need to replace it somehow. Your body's not going to generate it on its own. So, included in this kit is mostly based around shelter and fire. Yes, you know, a lot of the time, if you're not wet and it's 30s, you can build a nice fire and you can sleep next to the fire and you can survive even with improper clothing on. I've done it before. That works relatively well. But if you get wet, you're done. If you have improper clothing and you're wet and it's 33 degrees and you're 2 hours walk from home, it's going to be pretty rough on you. So I'm trying to fit this shelter and fire is what I want to fit into this kit. Everything else is kind of secondary. Didn't have room for any signaling devices other than the Mylar blanket that doubles as a signaling device, and also the fire. But the problem with it is okay, water purification. You're not going to be able to purify much water in one of these little tins. It's just not going to happen. Okay, especially if there's snow on the ground. If there's snow on the ground and you fill this little tin with snow, by the time you melt that snow down into water and then it's boiled, you're going to have like 1/8 of a cup in here. So yes, if you want to sit around the fire all day and boil little tins full of water and try and hydrate, that's possible. But what happens if you cannot get a fire going? That's where this comes in. This is a condom which holds roughly 1 liter of water, and there is a little tube of bleach here that you can use to disinfect that water. That's in case you can't get a fire going. And even if you can get a fire going, the chance of you being able to boil enough water to hydrate yourself in this little tin within a reasonable amount of time, especially when you're cold, you're scared, you're hungry, that's not really going to work too well. And yes, you can survive 3 days without water, but in my experience is that, like in the summertime, dehydration starts setting in within hours. You know, as soon as you stop taking water in. Now, that's probably not the case in the middle of winter, but you're still exerting yourself. You're still burning calories. You're still, you know, especially when you get freaked out, you're going to start hyperventilating and whatnot. So you need to be able to purify some water. The condom's going to be the best way of you getting a large quantity of water and being able to purify it with the bleach. There's enough bleach in here to purify probably about 3 liters of water. And then the condom also gives you the ability to carry the water. You fill the condom full of water, you put your sock around it, and now you have something that protects it, and you can carry some water with you. As I said, dehydration may not kill you for 3 days, but it'll sure take your ass out of the fight a lot sooner than that. So yet again, since we're mostly focused on shelter and we're focused on fire, a knife is kind of like, you know, don't get me wrong, I love my knives as much as everybody else does, but at this point, when you're just worried about keeping yourself alive through the night, a knife is a bit more of a luxury item. This style of knife here, where it's almost like a lashed-on arrowhead, it has an edge on this side. This is made from an old Sawzall blade. So you do have a fine saw feature on the back side of the blade that you can use for notching. Now, you can use this blade how it is for small tasks, but then you can take it and mount it on a handle, very similar to how Otzi the Iceman's knife was mounted. And it'll give you a full-size grip that you can use to actually use this knife. Single bevel, it's just like a chisel. And really, compared to a lot of the options you have for small folding knives that'll fit in this kit, I would probably take this, as funky as it sounds. A little bit of artificial sinew. That way you can break this down and use it for other things if you had to. But that's mostly there to lash this onto a handle so you have a usable knife. And as I said, since we're focusing on shelter and fire, the knife is a bit of a secondary feature. It is used to spark the ferro rod. It's used for cutting the cordage. You know, it is going to have its utility uses, But you're really not going to need a full-blown bushcraft knife if you're just wrapping up in plastic, build a big fire, trying to keep yourself alive through the night. Would I trust my life to any of this stuff here? No, absolutely not. I think that these kits are foolish. I think that they give people a false sense of security. I think that if you believe in one of these kits, you're either a novice or an expert. You're a novice in the fact that you believe that this little bit of kit will keep you alive in the worst conditions possible. And if you're an expert to the point where you're primitive survival skills master, you don't need this anyway, right? So I don't see the point to them. I think the bush pot based kit like Morse Kahansky always kind of advertised, I think that's the way to go. I think you can make a pretty well-rounded kit based on a like clean canteen bottle with, you know, a basic like Mora knife in it and the makings of a super shelter or some 55-gallon drum liners. You know, that's the most common thing that's gonna kill you. You know, it's great if you have fish hooks and sewing needles and everything, but what happens if you die before 24 hours is up? You never get a chance to even think about finding food. So this is my take on it, guys. I hope you like it. I appreciate your views. If you guys have anything else to add, any suggestions, like I said, I haven't built one of these in a long time, so this is kind of just a quickie idea of what I would put in a kit. But thanks for watching. This is Beaver Creek Woodcraft, and y'all have a good one.